Bai took on a defensive stance, his gaze moving back and forth between the two mutated corpses. Surprising enough, the two didn't attack simultaneously. The one on the ground was the first to launch towards Bai, but as soon as it got within an attacking distance, Bai, without hesitation, slashed its chest with his bone claws. The attack was so fast and fierce that the mutated corpse died instantly. The system notified him that he'd gained 400 experience points for killing a level 5 resurrected body. Seeing this, the other on the ceiling opened its mouth and sucked in a considerable amount of air, then released it in a thunderstorm-like attack on Bai. But due to Bai's fast movements, he effortlessly moved to the side, dodging the assault with ease. He now understands why they didn't attack together earlier. It seems the attack just now requires some time to be activated. And although the attack might be too slow, Bai had no intention of playing around first. So with a giant leap, he made his way towards the mutated corpse on the ceiling, and as a smile crept on his lips, he told it to go back to hell. So with his heavy hammer, he delivered a massive gut-wrenching punch, killing it instantly. Again, the system notified him. This time around, he gained 1,000 experience points for killing a level 7 splicer infant spider. Seeing the system prompt, Bai was delighted as he made a sturdy landing. He thought this instant dungeon was really special indeed. It had a lot of experience points just begging to be harvested. At that very moment, the rest of the corpses mutated as they woke up, their gaze locked on Bai with an intense killing intent. Also, the door of the machine's incinerating chamber was repeatedly being hit from the inside. On the other hand, Bai was excited seeing this new development. He urged them to hurry and attack him already. The more the merrier. However, their slow movement made Bai decide to attack first. With his fast movements, Bai easily dealt with them, gaining 7,400 experience points in the process. The system prompted Bai that he had leveled up to 4 and gained 2 free attribute points. Bai approached the incinerating chamber and called out the boss. "Your minions are all dead, why don't you come out? Or would you like me to help you out?" Suddenly, a loud bang rang out, and with it, the door of the machine's incinerating chamber was blown open. Bai was immediately alert, his gaze fixated on what was in front of him. In the incinerating chamber was a massive meat-like monster. The sudden appearance made Bai feel uneasy. He wondered how it was possible for the meat-like monster to evoke such a strong sense of danger in him. This prompted him to quickly take action to eliminate the monster before it could evolve any further. So without hesitation, Bai launched an attack. However, the monster swiftly blocked it with a hand. Bai was undeterred and followed up with an attempt to infect the monster with his evolved flu virus. But the system notified him that the skill had no effect on the target. So as the meat-like monster fully emerged from the machine, it transformed and retaliated with a powerful punch which sent Bai flying and crashing into a wall, denting it greatly. As the dust cleared, Bai, staring at the monster, was impressed with its strength. In front of him was now a completed transformation of the meat-like monster Biomanic, a giant monster over 5 meters tall. Biomaniac immediately dashed towards Bai at full might. Seeing this, Bai countered with a powerful punch in the stomach, then immediately did a backflip, evading Biomaniac's attack. However, Biomaniac had a high-speed regeneration ability, and with this, it swiftly recovered from the heavy punch with ease. Seeing this new development, Bai was oddly thrilled. He hasn't been able to fight going all out since his reborn. But now, the prospect of being able to do that against Biomaniac would be able to sharpen his hands and feet that had been rusty for the past few days. He also made mention of using Biomaniac to restore a little bit of his strength. An hour quickly passed by, and the fight was still ongoing as Bai continued his relentless onslaught. Biomaniac, on the other hand, kept up the pace, healing himself over and over again. Bai found the whole situation interesting as he began to ponder if Biomaniac's regeneration was infinite. So with curiosity, Bai activated a status read of his hourglass, which allowed him to recover instantly by enabling him to access an earlier copied state of himself. And just like that, the fight resumed again for another hour. At this point, Biomaniac was taking a longer time to heal. And Bai noticed this, so he questioned if Biomaniac's healing ability was going to eventually stop at some point, right? Again, an hour passed, and it seems that Biomaniac was nearing its limit. It laid on the ground, trembling and exhausted. Seeing this, Bai urged it to get up and continue with their fight. He hadn't had enough. Soon, an hour passed again, and at this point, Bai was basically being a bully. So as he stared at a defeated and trembling Biomaniac, who had reverted back to its little meat-like form, he questioned if he could not regenerate anymore. How disappointing. Anyway, it was fun while it lasted. But it's almost time to end this. Don't you think so? Bai asked this and immediately stomped on Biomaniac, crushing it into pieces and killing it. The system revealed that Biomaniac was a level 8 boss and killing it merit a whopping 10,000 experience points. Furthermore, Bai leveled up to 5 and gained 2 free attribute points. Bai received another notification that the dungeon had been successfully cleared, and he now had the option to exit anytime. Also, the instant dungeon cooled Incinerator had been made permanent with a cooldown of 3 days. The system then presented Bai with an option to upload the clearance video as a paid video guide. All the payment would belong to the uploader. There was also an option to hide his face, ID, and name. The price of viewing the video can also be set by the uploader. Seeing this, Bai agreed to the terms and requested to hide his appearance. The scene then shifted to Dongshan Villa area, specifically, Song Ziqiong's villa. Inside her room, she was being treated by Su Zin. Suddenly, Song Ziqiong immediately sat up straight, shocked at the announcement in the chat group. An evolver named White had uploaded the clearance video of a nightmare-level mystery dungeon, cooled Incinerator, with a recommended level of 5 to 10. The viewing price was set at 1 copper coin. Seeing this, Song Ziqiong and Su Zin, with a nervous anticipation, decided to watch the video together. At the same time, other pioneers were way ahead of them. They had already tuned in from wherever they were. A girl was stunned by the speed at which Bai fought the monster, so she had to slow down the video to observe it carefully. Another was delighted that Bai was fully recovered. A guy with a headband was excited upon witnessing the fierce fight, and another, after observing, realized that the monster's regeneration was on a whole different level than Bai's, although not infinite, was better than anything he'd ever seen. The chat group immediately exploded with comments after comments. Some were of Bai's insane power and also Biomaniac's, others were about their admiration towards him. Overall, the fight was intense and impressive. Back at the cooled Incinerator dungeon, Bai had successfully absorbed all traces of Biomaniac and his minions. The system notified him that he'd gained 300 Black Light Virus evolution points after the absorption of the Special Complex Mutant. It seems that the Black Light Virus had its own evolution points which were different from the virus points of talent. With his current resources, it meant Bai can only evolve the abilities and skills of the Black Light Virus. Upon realizing this, Bai was actually delighted with the information. The system showed that with his evolution of his Black Light Virus, his recovery speed had increased by 300%. He also acquired Biomaniac's Grade A passive ability skill, Cell Regeneration, and this was triggered by his Black Light Virus. This skill allowed him to use a certain amount of his stamina or other energy to regenerate as quickly as possible, including a severed limb. The skill can also be turned on or off. Knowing there was a low probability of getting a passive skill, let alone an A-level skill at that, Bai was delighted with himself. Then, finally, it was time for him to check what the nightmare-level boss dropped. In front of Bai were 3 golden rewards that dropped. The first reward Bai picked up was a scroll, a unique A-level Biodemon professional scroll. It was an evil profession that absorbs other living beings to improve itself, and has the ability to stimulate its own cells to greatly enhance its strength and recovery capabilities. There was also a caution that excessive absorption may cause gene disintegration or mutation, and the consequences were unknown. The evolver had to be of level 10 with a physique greater than 15 to be able to use the item. A unique A-level profession with both risk and benefits. But I already have the Black Light Virus, so this won't do. Bai commented after a considerable thought. He then moved on to the second reward, which was a potion. A Grade C genetic essence which had a perfect genetic essence that can be used to greatly improve one's physical condition. However, each evolver can only take it once. Seeing this, Bai immediately uncorked it, then drank the content without a second thought. His strength, physique, and agility permanently increased by 2, 6, and 3 respectively. Then, the last of the 3 was a cloth named the Faceless Skin. Curious, Bai picked it up, and upon doing so, he realized that it was a D-grade special defense item. A special skin product with an excellent defense, multiple genes, and can alleviate the problem of a sagging skin. It adds a plus 10 each to an evolver's agility, physique, and defense. Also, it had 2 effects on the body. The first was called body shaping, which could improve body shape when worn for a long term. However, this was recommended for women because it had a better effect on them. The second was called dynamic skin. After wearing it, an evolver can change the color and shape of any part of their body according to their own ideas. Seeing this, Bai was a little taken aback. The description of the dynamic skin was a little ambiguous. Is it a body change or is it an equipment item? Alright. I also managed to pick up some of the monsters dropped. Bai said this as he opened his system's inventory. And upon doing so, he realized that the other dropped items were all ordinary equipment that could be worn as inner armor. Although it wasn't the best quality, Bai was fine with it. But at that moment, a D-rank active skill book, the active cells, caught his eye. It increases cell activity for a short period of time. Thus, an evolver's recovery ability rises dramatically as a result. Its cooldown time is 10 hours. However, there was a note that states if an evolver already had the advanced version of this skill, which was the cell regeneration, then this skill book would be invalid. Seeing this, Bai commented that it didn't matter. After all, these life-saving skill books can be traded for other things in the system's chat room. Also, it was almost time for Bai to leave. And as long as he hands over the part of Biomaniac's body to Lord Leto, then the mission will be completed. Bai wondered if Lord Leto would even imagined that he'd be able to complete the task this quickly. And as he thought about Lord Leto's actions some more, Bai hesitated on leaving the dungeon. Then, he suddenly chose not to exit the dungeon. According to Bai, something wasn't adding up. Lord Leto wasn't a wandering trader in the game who moved aimlessly. He must have come to Blue Star for a reason. And as Bai remembers Lord Leto's departing words, about his day being an unexpected harvest because Bai was an unexpected bonus, then Lord Leto's original purpose was most likely this special dungeon. Bai became resolve in his decision after this thought. However, the amount of rewards that he was getting in the dungeon wasn't adding up. There was no need for a divine avatar to come to Blue Star for these rewards. Could it be that his purpose had nothing to do with this dungeon? Or am I missing something? His attention immediately shifted to the dungeon's incineration chamber. Upon close inspection, Bai realized that if there was anything he hadn't seen in the dungeon, then it must be inside the incineration chamber. As he entered the incineration chamber, he noticed that the walls of the iron sheets, which was the fire outlets for the incineration bodies, was covered with oil and grease. And that was it. There was nothing special about it either. Looking at the pipe system, he wondered, could it be inside the pipe? Bai decided to go inside the pipe above to have a look. If he didn't investigate thoroughly, he might miss something. So with a light leap, Bai moved above the incineration chamber into the pipe system at a considerable pace. After a brief moment inside the pipe, he noticed that it was quite long and had far exceeded the height of the room. Then, looking ahead of him, his eyes widened in surprise. To his shock, it was a dead end. It can't be. Can it? Is there really nothing? Bai questioned himself as his elbow involuntarily hit the iron sheet. Immediately after, a golden mask emerged from the iron sheet with a burst of golden light. Bai's reflexes kicked in as he punched the mask without any consideration. However, the system's notification alerted him soon after. What he'd found was a mask with an unknown name and grade. But the main cause of the Incinerator's phenomenon was this unknown thing, and the appearance of the mask, which seems to have miraculous functions and effects. Amazed that his hunch was right, and there was actually an item, Bai, with curiosity and caution, picked up the mask. Although the mask had an unspecified name with some question marks, Bai had a gut feeling that it was most likely a fragment of an SSS class item or an item related to a god. This was amazing, he said. This was definitely what Lord Leto was aiming for, but fortunately, it's in my hands now, and I've got to find a way to keep it. Outside the building of the university's underground incinerator, nightfall descends. Inside, Bai came out of the incineration chamber, then the dungeon soon after, and upon seeing Bai, Mia, with enthusiasm, shouted excitedly that she'd watched Bai's video. He was way too strong than what she initially thought, and that she was in love with him now. Hearing this, Bai just asked her if she had copper coins. Oh, I do. When the others were fighting zombies, I contributed with a last-ditch attack. Checking his own, Bai wondered how many gold coins he had. The price to watch the video was a copper coin, so there should be a lot of people watching. He found out that he had a total of 912 gold coins, 75 silver coins, and 32 copper coins, which was not enough. He needed 1,000 gold coins to unlock a spatial storage feature. The spatial storage was protected by the universal will from all intruders in every dimension or place, so it was the safest way to leave the item undetected. Due to this, he decided to wait before he turned in his mission. Soon, Bai and Mia exit the university's medical faculty, specifically, its main building. Mia asked Bai if he was heading back to Dongshin Villa mentioned earlier. No, not at this moment. There are many unknown dangers at night, so we should find a place to spend the night first. Hearing this, Mia was delighted. She made mention that there were a few high-class hotels not far from the university, and it was not a holiday either, so there won't be many people. Also, they were extremely tall, so it should be safer, right? Bai had no objections hearing this, so she told Mia to lead the way. They made their way to the Love Couple Hotel. Inside a room named Hundreds of Temptations, Mia, dressed in a nurse uniform, asked Bai if the uniform was to his liking. No, I don't like this one. Hearing this, Mia apologized. She thought Bai picked this hotel specifically for this purpose. Indeed, I did pick this hotel for this purpose, but I simply don't like what you're wearing right now. Mia suggested she'll go find another uniform then. Soon, she came out from the changing room, dressed in a too revealing cop uniform. Again, Bai told her to change into something else. She did just that immediately. Her next uniform was that of a teacher. But same as previously, she was told that a change of uniform was needed because she wasn't well behaved enough. Next was a student, but she was boring, so another change was needed, preferably a more interesting costume. Mia's next uniform was that of a pet, with a tail and all. Seeing this, Bai, intrigued with the idea of Mia being his little pet, told her to come over. What she had on was a perfect costume that fit her for the night. His little pet. Immediately after, the hotel lived up to its purpose with flying colors. Deep within the night, Bai woke up after their long session. Checking his coins, he finally had enough gold coins to enable his spatial storage function. The storage space could not be detected by any ability or skill, and it's absolutely private and secret, protected by the universal will. Bai was then given an option to choose a successor, and asked to use the spatial storage carefully. His first action was the golden mask. Bai successfully stored it in the storage space. The next step was to proceed to summon Lord Leto. Bai, with a smile, took out the coin and tossed it, summoning the god of goblin and trade. At an undisclosed location near Love Hotel, Bai waited patiently for Lord Leto's arrival. And as he was waiting, he remembered a saying in his previous life that was widely circulated. It was that when trading with Lord Leto, emotions were part of the bargaining chip. This meant that Lord Leto would adjust the rewards in order to take care of the emotions of the transaction or task object. However, the premise was that the evolver had to have enough value in Lord Leto's eyes. Soon, Bai took out the piece of Biomanic's body from his pocket when Lord Leto arrived. Lord Leto, who was in his usual mood, greeted Bai. He admitted that he didn't expect Bai to summon him so soon. "Have you completed the task to proof yourself?" he asked. "Yes, and here's the proof. A part of the creature's body from the dungeon required for the task." Bai replied and tossed a part of Biomanic's body over. The piece fell near Lord Leto's feet. Looking at the wizened flesh, it was obviously not fresh. And Lord Leto noticed this immediately with a hint of surprise. He deduced that Bai must have completed the task last night, right? "Why didn't you call me right away? Or is it that you suddenly didn't want the scroll anymore?" Lord Leto summoned his walking stick as he questioned Bai. Hearing this, Bai replied in a cold tone that he couldn't figure it out earlier. The person whom he respects and admires so much actually hid a crucial information from him. "Why did you hide the difficulty of the dungeon from me? It wasn't until I entered the dungeon that I realized that it was a nightmare level. And if I hadn't had some tricks up on me, I would have died in there." Considering Bai's accusations, Lord Leto replied after a brief moment that he understands Bai's frustration, but he can explain. In fact, it was part of the test if he's being honest. There was no way he would hand over such a treasure to someone who couldn't handle the unexpected. So with this realization, Lord Leto hopes Bai understands. Bai, still maintaining his cold demeanor, replied that he got it. "Anyway, what's the reward and the next task?" First, Lord Leto admitted that it was wrong of him to hide the information from Bai in the first place. Second, since Bai had proven himself, he had to reward him. However, this time around, the reward was of Bai's choosing. Also, the next task will be the final round. How's that? Hearing this, Bai smiled for the first time upon summoning Lord Leto. Bai then paid his respects to Lord Leto for his understanding and generosity. Acknowledging Bai's appreciation, Lord Leto told him to take his pick with the highest quality B rank items. Immediately after, numerous items suddenly appeared around Bai, shocking him. Seeing the items on display, Bai was impressed. He chose a B rank recovery scroll. Bai's choice also impressed Lord Leto a little. He commented that Bai was indeed knowledgeable and had a clear goal in mind. So with the reward session over, the next thing was the final task. Upon hearing this, Bai's entire demeanor stiffens as his eyes widen in complete shock. In front of him was an SSS-level task, named the Ultimate Investment, issued by Lord Leto. This final round was to get 2 SSS-level profession scrolls. 2 SSS-level profession scrolls? Bai shouted in disbelief. So with a nervous look, Bai questioned Lord Leto if he knows the level of difficulty the task was. "Even gods are not born with SSS-level professions. Of course I know. I know all too well. After all, my first profession was an A level. However, it's my best treasure, so it must go to the best place. Otherwise, I would have a hard time parting with it." Left with no choice, Bai agreed, accepting the task with full confidence. Meanwhile, at the same time at Dongshan Villa area, Song Ziqiang and her men were in a dire situation. Their territory was invaded by a level 5 mutant giant rat. With a strength of 18, agility of 20, physique of 19, and energy of 3. This was the only information they could get their hands on since their difference in levels were too great to see the rest of the giant rat's abilities. As Dongshan Villa area faced several casualties, Song Ziqiong, Chinger, and a couple of guards hid behind huge rocks amidst the chaos, observing the movements of the giant rat. Chinger briefed Song Ziqiong that the rat they're currently facing was much bigger than the previous ones. Also, the two teams which had encountered the rat had been completely wiped out. Hearing this, Song Ziqiong replied, knowing all too well that the mutated rat had its attributes higher than theirs about 3 or 4 times. Hearing this made Chinger ask what they should do then, since they were unable to deal with it. Looking at her injured men, Song Ziqiong ordered them to stay away from the giant rat for now, but should continue to observe its movements. However, unbeknownst to everyone, the giant rat had a high sense of smell, and had caught on to their scent at that precise moment. Seeing this, Chinger's eyes widened upon realization, but it was too late. The giant mutated rat, with its fierce movements, was upon them in an instant. Song Ziqiong shouted for everyone to run away as Chinger helps her evade the rat's assault. The mutated rat began to wreak havoc over and over without any signs of slowing down. Amidst the deafening chaos, Chinger tried to help Song Ziqiong to her feet, urging her about the need to escape their immediate vicinity as soon as possible. But witnessing the rat's agility, Song Ziqiong replied that it was too late, and indeed it was, because at that moment, the giant rat launched at them high in the air with an intense killing intent. Fortunately, above them, including the rat, was a purple ball of lightning, shot from the sky, aiming directly at their location. This mysterious light was Bai, who landed directly on top of the mutated rat with a massive kick, killing it instantly. Seeing Bai's sudden appearance, Song Ziqiong's face lights up like a Christmas tree. It was obvious that she was way too delighted with Bai's arrival. Standing on top of the dead rat, Bai noticed that he arrived in the nick of time. Any moment later would have been too damaging to mend. He ordered Chinger to call the men to clean up the villa's compound, and make sure to compensate and reward those who died. And as for Song Ziqiong, she should brief him on the situation so far. A while later, inside Song Ziqiong's villa, Luli briefs Bai on what happened since he left. They had been able to clear out the zombies. But soon after, the mutated rats, which were originally located at the east side from the villa's location, swamped in their territory like ants. Also, they lost 6 warehouses and the number of casualties exceeded 100. Luli hands the documents over to Bai, who praised everyone for their efforts. Based on the information he'd received, it looks like they've all worked hard. Bai assures everyone that he will clean up the mutated rats in the area the following day, and also find out the source. Hearing this, Song Ziqiong, still with her warm smile, thanked Bai for his concern. But they will feel uneasy if they all rest now, and had no one to take care of him, so she would like to recommend someone for him this very evening. Hearing this, Bai had no objections. At the door, Song Ziqiong told the person in question to come in. Immediately after, the door opened, and at the door was a young blonde lady with a well-defined good body. A pretty face with a salacious curves that was too enticing to ignore. Song Ziqiong introduced her as a lawyer. According to her, the lovely lady could help Bai with any rules he's currently facing, and she was willing to be Bai's people. The underlying meaning of her words was pretty obvious. Hearing this, Bai replied that the young lady, Qin Lingyu, could stay and the rest should leave and rest. Everyone left the two in the room immediately after those words. Meanwhile, Qin Lingyu, with a seductive demeanor, told Bai that if he needed her to do anything, then all he needs to do is say it. Hearing this, Bai placed a finger delicately underneath her chin and told her that he'd heard that her profession was quite sharp-tongued, so the man downstairs would like to experience it firsthand. Upon hearing this, Qin Lingyu gave a radiant smile, understanding her task with joy. She replied that she understands, and assures Bai that she won't disappoint him.